Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. My name is Adam Riancho, and today is Thursday, May 14th. Time for some live streams. I got a round of golf tonight. I got a tee time at 6 p.m. Twilight, and I got to make it in time. So now is the moment to draft, and we're not going to waste any time. We're hopping into a puppy draft, and I'm entering right now. Last I checked, there's like one viewer. So if you wanna claim a spot, there's 6 spots left. I will be getting some water and coming right back. But good afternoon, Scott. Thank you for joining us. I will be back in the next several seconds. We are in a puppy lobby. There are still 6 spots left in this puppy if you would like to join. So I'll be right back. Let me leave this open. And yeah, hop in if you would like. I will be back in just a second. All right. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. Kind of a last second decision to go live right now. Like I mentioned, we do have a round of golf scheduled for 6 p.m. And I think we can get 2 lives in just in time. I think that'll be the case. I do have to run through some LA traffic, so that's why I'm a little nervous about it, but definitely want to do a live today. And I don't want to do it after like 9:30 p.m. when most of y'all, especially on the East Coast, are already asleep. We've done some late night drafts recently, just a couple days ago, so I don't want to tack too many of those on during the week. I will save that for a little bit later. But what's good? Your soothing sound. That's a good username. Do you post music? That'd be my guess. But cool name. Christian Ramos is in at 6. Yo, what's good, my man? He is in at pick 6. I definitely feel like we drafted before. I see T-Fall SP Dogs in here at pick 11. And then, to be honest with you, I don't see too many names that I recognize. We got Hooter in at 4. I have no idea if they're watching, but I like the name. Only one away from, the divine Hooters. I like the username for Team 4. What's good, Breaking Best Ball? Randomly saw you, my puppy, here at 11. Yo, good timing. Excited to have you in here. But yeah, there was no notice for this live stream. It's definitely a pop-up stream. I know there's several other people live at the moment, so who knows what the audience retention will be today. Not too worried about it. Just want to get in my live today. Check the box. I don't want to leave y'all hanging. And after this pick, damn, Puka at 6 is not bad. James Cook at 7. Don't see that too often from Luxbox, but I think we're going to pass on Taylor today. I think we're going to start with wide receiver, and I'm going to go Amon-Ra St. Brown at pick 8. Haven't taken Amon-Ra, I think, on the channel in a minute, but do think he's a good pick. And now that we finally have our first pick under the books, in the books, I should say, boy, it's time for a little smoke break. It's been a minute. If you've been waiting for the smoke break, we re-upped today, and we are ready to go. If you would like to join me, I was waiting for my first click of the draft. Smoke it if you got it. I'll see you on the other side. Good to be back. Good to be back with my bread and butter. This is the first draft of the day. We will do a second one, I promise you, Keith. What's up, Mark Twain? How you doing? Greetings, Big Keith. The big shooter. Yo, what's the deal with Chase Brown right now? Am I missing some news on Chase Brown? Because I have seen repeatedly over the last couple of days, Chase Brown is going consistently at the top of the second round. Is it just like for the sake of being unique? Kind of feels that way. I'm going to go Ken Walker. I normally go Omarion Hampton, but I am very aware that I have a shit ton of Amon-Ra Omarion Hampton teams. That is a go-to. Damn. The Puka Hampton start at pick 6. Amos Ramus. Christian. Good fucking luck, man. I want to see you land this plane because that's a phenomenal start. The LA Rams wide receiver 1, the Chargers running back 1, and a nice fall on both of them. Don't see that too often. Good for you. But what's up, Hartman, GM? Happy to see you. I'll be honest, Hartman, I would love to have you back on the channel sometime. Felt like we had some really dope teams. I'm trying to pin down my schedule. There's a few more names that have yet to come on the channel, so I'm kind of trying to prioritize some names to reach out to and see if we can get them on their first collab. I mean, obviously, if people are willing to collab, that's always key, and I'm honored for everyone that says yes. But once I'm kind of hitting the rounds again, I will be honest, Hartman, would love to have you back on the channel. But Christian says not so big on Hampton, but I got to take the fall. I agree. I think that combination is not too common, and I think you should reevaluate your consideration on Hampton's upside. The Mike McDaniel running back is super valuable. The Jim Harbaugh running back is traditionally super valuable. And Kimani Vidal had several 20-plus point games while Hampton was down. Hampton also hit 20-plus points while he was healthy. And I don't think you should worry about Keaton Mitchell or Kimani Vidal as much as some people like to say. But I'm very excited for you with that Puka and Hampton start. We go Amon-Ra, Ken Walker, and SP Dogs breaking best ball. Let me know your take on Chase Brown. I'm very curious to see it. It's not like I think it's a bad click. I'm just a little shocked that I've seen it so often the last 2 days. Yesterday on the stream, we saw Chase Brown go at pick 13 twice. I saw Jiri earlier today take Chase Brown at pick 14, just like you did. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but let me know your take on Chase Brown that high. Is it just for the sake of being different, or do you think he could be better than the running backs we've taken there? I've been trying to increase my exposure for Breece Hall a little bit, kind of listening to Goofy Chicken. Maybe I should respect Breece Hall's value a little bit more in the third round. I'm very underweight Breece. I'll say that. So in the spirit of taking Ken Walker instead of Hampton, I'm going a little bit off the beaten track, trying to get some names I am a little underexposed to. And that kind of was the mindset on grabbing Ken Walker over Hampton. That's not how my rankings have it, but I don't think Walker is a bad click in the second. And then Breece here, I'm opening my mind to it. Typically, I'm taking Travis Etienne consistently over Breece Hall. And honestly, if I was in redraft, I think I'd feel safer taking Kyron and Javonte over Breece Hall, because in best ball, you need the highest outcome possible. You really need to chase upside. Whereas in your typical redraft league in a 12-person format, you don't necessarily have to. You could get, the RB3 versus RB1 and still make it through. So it's more important you don't make a mistake in redraft, and maybe that is something that is painting my decision on passing on Breece so often. But another name I don't have a shit ton of, but is really hard to get outside the fourth round, I'll go Luther Burden today. I'm willing to mix him in. We have the anchor and Amon-Ra consistently going to hit our lineup with a touchdown. It's kind of a lock that he's a top 5 play in terms of total points this year. And we can kind of get a little bit frisky with some of our other picks, lean into the upside argument a little bit more. But Luther Burden, I don't think is a better click than Colston Loveland. I think that is also a very good way to go. And then I'm also not convinced that Roma Dunze is less valuable than Luther Burden. But today, a team you don't see me have too often. And I don't hate it, but if there's one click I'm the least comfortable with of these 4 so far, it would be the Breece Hall selection. The Breece Hall pick is probably the one that makes me not too excited, but we'll see what happens. I will move on with our decision. Keith saying lots of experts specifically recently are strongly endorsing Chase Brown and some like him over Hampton. Good to know. Should be a very big year for all Bengals. That's a valid argument breaking baseball. There's nothing to argue against on that take. The only way that doesn't happen is if Joe Burrow goes down. He has missed time consistently. Hoping it doesn't happen again, but that's really the only way. It is not effective. Hartman says, yeah, for sure. We built some nice squads. We will have to run it back later in the summer. Absolutely. We got plenty of time. But if anyone hasn't done so already, check out Hartman's fantasy football channel. It's not the same username or avatar picture, but it's Hartman FF on YouTube. Great content, very sharp drafter, highly recommend. And if you are interested, you can check out our collabs. I have been on his channel. He's been on my channel. Those were some really, really dope teams. But I am back on the clock. And as much as I want to go Lamar at pick 56, I've noticed he's fallen recently. And today, Quinshon Judkins is on the thumbnail. Let's lean into a name we don't take too often. And we're taking Quinshon. The vibes are definitely in his favor. He's got the thumbnail bump. I'm taking Quinshon at pick 56. Sorry, I'm looking around because my cat just stole the bag of treats. I will be back in a second just to make sure she doesn't go overkill on that. You hiding from me? Oh, she's pissed. Leia's pissed. I did not lock up the bag of treats, and I just snatched it out of her hand. She is not too happy about that. She thought she could sneak one past me while I'm live, while I'm distracted. But I caught her hand in the cookie jar. It's all good. YGFR OG says Chase Brown is the top back in Cincinnati. Great offense potential for a crazy year. It's also a team that we refuse to draft the handcuff. No one has any interest in Taj Brooks. I've seen some people take Samaje Perine, but we also really have no competition there for touches. So fair argument. Don't think it's bad. There's also a lot fewer teams that have him on that side of the board. So some unique combos that are hard to replicate otherwise. I understand. Not saying I'm dying to do it though. I'll take Brian Thomas today. Haven't taken him in a minute. Staying balanced. Could go quarterback there, but so far this lobby has kind of ignored it. And then there is SP Dogs who did go Lamar and Joe Burrow. Lamar is someone you don't need stacked up, preventing the Zay Flowers drafter from getting him some integrity right there, and then getting the Chase Brown stack with Joe Burrow. He did not get T. Higgins, so maybe that was part of his plan in taking Chase Brown. It's pretty easy typically to get T. Higgins on that side of the board, but one pick away did not hit for Pantowine at pick 10. He did not get the Joe Burrow combo. Instead, he went Tyler Warren. Interesting. I'm happy to take Tyler Warren in the 7th, but I'm a little sad when I pull him up. The price on tight end is usually good enough where it just doesn't feel too worth it, but Could outperform all the round 2 running backs for sure. It's possible. It's definitely not something I would rule out. But what's up, Crossface? I hope we did you proud. I hope you caught the drop earlier. Maybe you're hopping in a little too late, but we did re-up and we are smoking today. But I will say I'm not smoking past 420. For the sake of being responsible, got to be locked in later. I'll probably smoke on the course, but not to get there. Brown is reasonably safe if he stays healthy. That's a big caveat. Last year, he stayed healthy, but has had his challenges doing so. It took a while, his breakout season, for him to get hurt. Damn, is Luxbox going to let me have it? He does not have Devontae Smith, so I might get it. Fuck yeah. We get Jalen Hurts, pick 80. I have been rewarded for passing. I'm sure Team 9 is upset. They have Devontae Smith. Thank you for passing. Thank you, my friend. Really appreciate the value. Not a player you need stacked up either, so I'm loving that. But Jalen Hurts pick 80 all day. I almost took him at 65, not gonna lie. I was like about to take Jaden Daniels, and I was like, nah, I'll be different today. And I almost pivoted to Jalen Hurts, but it feels wrong to take Hurts over Daniels. I'll say that this year. I think Hurts has some pitfalls, and I think the AJ Brown departure absolutely impacts his production. So maybe he can just deliver with 3 rushing touchdowns one week and you never regret having him. But I do think some of the passing stats might take a dip. And for whatever reason, he has often missed time in the fantasy playoffs. Like he's missed weeks 16, 17, and 18, like several years in a row. I don't think it applied last year. But the 2 years before that, it happened both seasons. And in general, it's not that big of a deal. But if he's going to fall to pick 80, I think he's a no-brainer. I'm really glad I passed on quarterback in round 6, given this is the outcome. But Quentin Johnston goes, wow, okay, interesting. Running back's not too exciting. I think I'm going to pivot back to quarterback here because I have 3 running backs I trust. I don't have them stacked up, but I don't think it matters. I'm going to stop with these 2 quarterbacks. And this has been an interesting lobby so far. Not too many teams have like forced that position up the board, but I think it's incorrect. I think we're in good shape. And there's also plenty of backstacks still available with Justin Herbert. He's also a good runner of the football. You don't necessarily have to stack him up, but it's pretty affordable to still get some names. Ladd went at pick 38. I'm surprised that team didn't take him, but that's SP Dogs, who has Lamar and Joe Burrow. I get it. Don't think he could really afford it. And then the Quentin Johnston drafter was not going to take him, pick 81. So round 8, Justin Herbert. I think both Hurts and Herbert should be going in the 6th round. Hurts usually goes there, but Herbert is not respected enough, in my opinion. I think the Chargers are still oddly underrated. But what's up, Fido? Blood and honor for the Horde. Up in smoke. Shh. Keep it on the down low. It's pretty obvious, but keep it on the down low. Yeah, I mean, as long as I get him, I think that's what's going to happen. You know, he's one of my favorite clicks, whether stacked or unstacked. That feels like a pretty solid bet. those odds feel accurate. But Ricky Pearsall falls. Let's take Ricky Pearsall. Definitely don't need a quarterback. We'll take Ricky P. Sticky Ricky. The man has been shot. So maybe we try to get Brian Robinson. We get double gunshot victim. Got to have some good karma when you really think about it. You know, men that have escaped death narrowly got to be playing with house money. But Ricky Pearsall can't stay healthy. Not sure it's has anything to do with his gunshot wound, though. What's up, Danimal? How you doing? Represent. Oh, you're good, Keith. No worries. Golden goes at 105. So he's been moving up the board. I love to see it. I took a lot of Golden, especially when he's there in the 11th round. I've been fairly high on Golden for quite some time. And at the moment, I think I'd rather have Matthew Golden than Romeo Dobbs. So at least in that regard, it's fair. I've noticed Josh Downs is rising pretty dramatically. That has been an interesting thing to track. The ADP risers and fallers since the NFL draft in these 18-round contests. The wide receiver position is a little bit more coveted at times, but I could go Jared Goff. Kind of speaking to me, but there's some weird vibes with Kenny Gainwell. I'm already pretty invested at quarterback. I think it's a little unnecessary. Other than the stack, I don't think there was any realistic argument to be taking Jared Goff there. But I feel really good about my running back room with Ken Walker, Breece Hall, Quinshon Judkins, and Kenneth Gainwell. In terms of upside, I'm not the biggest fans of Breece Hall and Quinshon Judkins off the board at ADP in a vacuum. I think they could fail to deliver on this capital. But in terms of upside in any given game, they are talented enough to really deliver and dominate. And having someone like Kenny Gainwell, I think, balances out that that floor requirement. I do think that Quinshon and Breece are going to have several weeks under 10 points. I think they're going to easily get you like 90 yards. But other than those catches, there's going to be instances where they just don't hit the end zone and fail to go over 11, 10 points. Just kind of the nature of the beast when you draft anyone in Cleveland or New York with the Jets. I mean, maybe even New York with the Giants to an extent, but especially the Jets and Browns struggle to score touchdowns at a high rate, and that's something to worry about. Why I don't normally take him. Typically, my tier-based deciding factors, I guess that's the best way to put it. In terms of the same tier, what is a tiebreaker that has me deciding to draft this player more or less vis-a-vis the peers in that same tier in my rankings? It's the offense they play in and how many touchdowns I think they're going to score. The Browns and Jets always lose that argument, but I've seen Gadsden fall tremendously, so I think we're going to pass on him today, and we're not going to fuck around. He's not coming back. Odds are, especially with SP Dogs in this lobby, knowing where I want to go. We got the Jalen Hurts fall at pick 80. The stack with Dallas Goedert feels like a no-brainer. Keith was exact. Minus 550 is probably the best odds you could have gotten on that. Unless someone sniped me, there was no chance I wasn't taking Goddard at 128. Kind of with that in mind, knowing I was kind of locking in tight end there, I wanted to kind of get ahead on running back because I didn't love the values at receiver. Like the receivers that went after I took Gainwell. Concepcion in Cleveland. I'm not taking two Cleveland Browns. Shakir in Buffalo, super mid, super disappointing. And then Shaheed got pulled up at 126. Haven't seen him go that high in a minute. honestly, don't think I've seen him go that high since last season. But I've seen it happen before. I'm going to pass on Oronde Gadsden here. Instead, I think I'm going to go Stephon Diggs. And hope that I'm getting the Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver 1. I really think that's the most likely outcome for Stephon Diggs remaining. The cap space is something I'm going to pull up on a separate tab here and bring in while we're waiting. But the Raiders are still in the mix. Oh, perhaps less than I thought. This is the adjusted cap space for 2026, the remaining cap space. Interesting that the Niners have opened up 66 million in cap space. I wouldn't have expected that. That's shocking. The Titans still have 43 mil. Chargers still have 40 million. That's fucking crazy. The Commanders are up top. The Raiders are actually down here with 11.4 in effective cap space, but at the moment they are listed in 24 mil in terms of overall cap space. So I don't know the exact nuances between the two, effective and cap space. I think effective is probably what you care about, what's available right now. But Diggs for 10 mil, given the market for him, given the circumstances, I could see him sign for like 8 mil. Wouldn't be super shocked about it. But perhaps if he's going to take that little, maybe he wants to sign with a contender. Maybe he doesn't go to Las Vegas, but maybe he goes on a team that does really use him regardless. And I think he will play. And I think he's the most talented left on the board. Probably going to demand the most targets. I like Juwan Jennings. I think Diggs is more talented. Juwan can throw a 50-yard touchdown pass. Wouldn't expect Diggs to do that. But Oronde Gadsden did not make it back. We pressed our luck. Not today. I'm not taking Kenyon Sadiq, I'll tell you that. It's an interesting price on CJ Stroud, but I'm going to go Brenton Strange. Feel like I'm not taking Strange enough, and I can't really think of I can't think of too many reasons why to fade Brenton Strange. The only reason is that the Jaguars' offense is crowded, but they're mostly crowded at receiver. The routes run by Brenton Strange are not going to be at stake. They have no depth behind him. So he's actually a pretty safe bet when you factor that in. I was hopeful to maybe get Oronde Gadsden at 152. That's where we took him the other day. But I can still get Njoku later. That's pretty easy. I can still get Trey Harris. That's kind of easy. But this lobby has kind of priced up tight end a little bit. We see Hunter Henry at 143, Juwan Johnson at 147. Andrews went at 125 in this one. That's interesting. He's been moving up the board consistently. I think now that Njoku hasn't signed, there's really no concern about Andrews' volume. It does feel worth it. Oh shit! Yo, I'm very sorry. I apologize. Yeah, just fucking notice. Shit. Okay. Might go Jalen Naylor in case checking the cap space now. Maybe Jalen Naylor is a bit more locked in for touches. But we mentioned Brian Robinson. I'm gonna go with the double gunshot wound strategy. Ricky Pearsall was shot in the chest. Brian Robinson was shot in the butt. But we have the players with 9 lives. The men who have escaped death on this roster. And hopefully we will rectify the error of keeping the cap space tab up. Let me catch up with the chat. That's the problem. I didn't stick to that tab and I neglected it. So let's focus real quick. Whohames in here, hashtag Who Crew. Shout out Whohames. Check out Whohames. Subscribe to Whohames. Awesome channel. Really, really dope channel over there. And a friend of the channel, just like Hartman. YGF says he could end up #1 running back in Tampa. Okay, I'm pretty behind if we're still talking about Kenny G. I drafted Gibbs first, Allen second, Jeremiah Love third pick in a 10-man league mock draft. Pretty solid. 10-man draft. I do kind of think the elite of the elite quarterback is a little bit more valuable. And typically Allen does kind of return on the investment. So I don't hate it getting the true QB1. Don't draft a second quarterback. I'll say that. If it's a 10-man redraft league, don't take a second quarterback. Let the waiver wire decide your fate on Allen's bye week. Play the matchups. But in a 10-man league, I don't hate it. Not at all. I do think most quarterbacks lose value, but the clear quarterback one, I think, is a little bit more coveted in a 10-man league. I'm just going to go Trey Harris here, get the stacking partner. We don't have anyone to justify our Justin Herbert click other than just his value straight up. So definitely, I mentioned the affordable stacks. Trey Harris is one of them. I'll take him here at pick 176. I've seen him go later. I've seen him fall, but we were running out of time on the clock. I know the direction I wanted to go in, and we just take the Charger for the stack at 176. Who has the higher points per game this year, Browns or Jets? I will say the Jets. I think their defense will be worse, so I think we'll get a little bit more garbage time, and I think I trust Geno Smith a little bit more than Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to say Jets, but it's going to be very close. Not a lock at all. They have a few more weapons, but when you really consider the rosters they have, it's pretty similar. The only difference is that Garrett Wilson is like the best wide receiver of those two teams. And speaking of the stacking partner, I'm going to stay in LA with the Chargers. I'm going to go David Njoku as my tight end 3. I'm not convinced that for the sake of the price tag, Oronde Gadsden at 139 will drastically outscore David Njoku by that much. Let's see. Gadsden was I'm going to count it in my head. 7, 8, 9, 10. Gadsden was tight end 16. And then I just took Njoku as tight end 26. I think they'll both finish closer to like tight end 18. And for that reason, I'll take the 50 pick fall in difference. Locked up my cheap LA Chargers with Justin Herbert. This team feels pretty solid, and I really can't point to anything that I've been upset with so far. Good evening, Bukowski. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us. Should have been minus 1,000. Yeah, no, minus 550 was like the best fucking odds you could imagine. What's up, Frank Evans? King of Kings in the house. I hope for the sake of EV, we can avoid a lobby with King of Kings. Diggs, does he have a baby? Last I heard, he's claiming that's not his baby. But Rodgers is still here. I'll take Rodgers. I'm done at running back for the sake of just like advancing with points. Maybe I didn't need him here, but I do think Rodgers is really, really valuable. And although there are no stacking partners left, I kind of don't care. This will just be a 3 quarterback team. For the sake of points, for the sake of value, give me Rodgers at pick 200. I can't pass. I just can't pass. I'm sure D-Rock's 1100 was pissed. They have QB1 CJ Stroud, QB2 Fernando Mendoza, but they should have taken Rodgers at 184 if they really wanted him. Not going to let you have him. I'll just have the third quarterback and the option of that extra bullet in the chamber. Maybe Hurts misses some time. Who knows? But I do think Rodgers, for the sake of advancing, this late, I'll take him unstacked. I'm not going to force the stack when I can just get a tremendous value. It's a solid strategy. I don't know if it's the highest odds. I'm not sure. I would say it's the best chance, because you might get a tremendous value on like Lamar Jackson or like the quarterback too, and the difference just might not be that much. Like the thing about taking Allen is that you are passing on some like tremendous discounts later on. But this pick has to be a receiver. There's not that many that are exciting. Could go Elijah Surratt. I actually think he might have a pretty big role the more I think about it. But I'm also really tempted to go Brennan Thompson for once. Fuck it. I'll go Brennan Thompson. Just give me another Charger. Fuck it. We're going to have Amon-Ra in the lineup a lot. We're going to have Luther spiking consistently. Brian Thomas, I think, is super valuable. Pearsall, if he stays healthy, will probably carry us. And then if we get the Las Vegas landing spot, then I do think I have a good enough 5-room receiver build that I'm not counting on Trey Harris or Brandon Thompson that often. But I do think I need one of them to hit. And if you tell me Trey Harris is actually not going to take that leap, it's probably because rookie Brennan Thompson gets on the field more often. But I do think we're getting solid flex contributions out of tight end with this build. Goddard, Strange, and Njoku, I think, will contribute. And then I'm also expecting a third running back in my lineup fairly often as well. So, yeah, I think I'm okay. Maybe the Rodgers click was too much, but I also think for the sake of advancing, that really helps me. I'm just locking in like high-end quarterback points every single week, and it was a nice fall. I've seen Rodgers move up the board. I've seen him go in the 160s. So I will take Aaron Rodgers here. All right, let me catch up with the chat. Looks like Frank becomes a member. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. This weekend, I will have a members-only live stream, and I will be breaking down my top 25 running backs, and then we'll have a draft with just members only. So I'll be sure to find the time and plan it at least like 24 hours in advance. I'm going to probably do it on Sunday if I had to guess. So thank you for joining as a member. And if you peruse the channel, there's not many member benefits at the moment. So right now, if you are a member, your team will be reviewed every single time. I guarantee it. And as my rankings will come out, I will also present those for members only and keep those exclusively members only videos for several days before we release them to the public. So, yeah, if anyone is interested in that, that's one reason to become a member. But thank you so much, Frank. Really appreciate the support. If you want to support this channel for free, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and let me catch up with the chat. I'll review the 2 drafters in here with us, and then we will hop into another draft. I do probably have to do that in the next 5 minutes, but I like the Sphinx avatar, Bionic Donkey. Thank you for hopping in here today. I feel like Robinson falls in all my drafts, and I can see a decent role for him in the red zone. I would agree. I don't think he's going to be a non-factor in the Kevin Stefanski offense. Bijan has to have some rest inevitably. And then if Bijan ever goes down, we have probably a top 10, top 12 play every week with B-Rob. For the sake of the price, I'm all in. But escaping death twice deserves a rip. I would agree, best ball on call. I think that's an excellent call. Let's smoke one for Ricky P and Brian Robinson, men who have escaped death with some gunshot wounds, just narrowly. Let's smoke one for them. The double gunshot wound strategy. Gotta have some value. Gotta mean something after all. Josh Reynolds, 18th rounder. He's got a shot too. Where's Josh Reynolds playing? Now I gotta look it up. Did he sign? Or are you just trolling? Josh Reynolds is, last I checked, a free agent still. According to Over the Cap, he is still a free agent. What's up, Bayou? How we doing? Check out Bayou Bengals FN, his fantasy channel. Very fun, dope graphics, really good live streamer. Check him out. Thank you, my man. Jets O-line should be better. I hope so. Grab Wicks on the late round for Hurts stack. We ended up going Rodgers, I think, when we could have gotten Dontavian. Let's see. Where did I have to go Dontavian in order to get him? I would have had to go Wicks over Njoku. And I do not think I would have gotten Njoku to make it back. So we get Rodgers instead of Wicks. I was hopeful he would be there, but he just wasn't. I'm kind of shocked that Luxbox in front of me went with Freiermuth at 186 and then took Tua. They had Drake London, so I guess that is more valid. But Rodgers is not going to come off the field. You can't say that about Tua. But Josh says, imagine drafting Trey McBride first, Bowers second to play in the flex. That's a terrible strategy. GG's Christian Ramos. Let's take a look at Amos Ramos. I imagine the Spanish inflection is probably the correct pronunciation. I got a Hispanic last name, so I will do it justice. Amos Ramos in at pick 6 has Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, great quarterback room. Got Hampton. This is the Puka Hampton team. Fuck. Hampton at 19. David Montgomery, 54. Rashad pulled him up a little bit. Has Tajay, Dylan Sampson. I'm not the most fond of these clicks, but they could deliver. You reached on Tajay. Not my favorite decision, but you were a little thin perhaps at running back. Maybe you felt the pressure, but you got Sampson, Tank Bigsby. I love Ray Davis. I love. So it's really just these two that I don't find myself clicking too often, but overall as a strategy, this group of 7 is very, very strong. Puka Evans is stacked up with Purdy, Mekhi Lemon at 67, Parker Washington at 78, Rashid Shaheed, wide receiver 5, one of the last I feel comfortable with, but only a 6th receiver. A little tricky, a little tough. Laporta, Gadsden, and Cade Otton. Interesting. I think I'm going to be completely honest. I think the team has a very high spike week potential. I think your starting lineup is fucking awesome. I think your starting lineup every week is going to be really, really dope. But if you don't get enough points out of Mekhi Lemon or Parker Washington, I think you might struggle a little bit. Shaheed is very important for this team because Skylar Bell is really, he has to break out for him to really contribute anything. And that's a hard bet to trust. So I think if I were you, I might not have gone with Gadsden there at 139. I've seen him fall back into the next round. And I think maybe taking a receiver instead of one of these 3 clicks would have been very valuable. Now, I understand that for the sake of price, there weren't many receivers going off in that range in the first place. So maybe the value just didn't really speak to you. But I think a Jalen McMillan, I think a Jawan Jennings instead of Gadsden might have been the move. Because I'm not convinced you need 3 tight ends on this build. You have Laporta, Gadsden, and Otton. One of those, I think, doesn't need to be there. And then maybe instead of Cade Otton, you pivot to receiver. But definitely keep Tank Bigsby. But I feel like as long as one of those three or Kate Otten is a receiver, I think this team is in better shape. The starting lineup, however, is fire. The Puka, Hampton, Allen 3-round start is pretty dope. But appreciate you. Keith, let's fucking go. Boom. Boom, shakalaka. First Down Fantasy says the Ricky Pearsall one is even more crazy because he got shot in the chest. And I know, right? Yeah. Unless it was like just grazed the chest and like it had to be on the right side. You know what I'm saying? It had to be through the right side of the chest. There's no fucking way it like avoided his heart and like major arteries by like a millimeter if it hit him on the left side. The Brian Robinson one, not as gangsta. He got shot in the butt. But the Ricky Pearsall one, very gangsta. You're welcome, Bayou. Thank you for joining the channel recently. And if you want to take me up on that collab, let me know, man. We will schedule it. But for sure, not over in Joku. Not sure where we mentioned this. I think it was the Dontavian Wicks discussion. Leo says, just drafted a BBM and took Neighbors, Bucky, and Gadsden. Block the noise. It's May. That's a fair thing to say. Don't overreact. It's May. I've seen 2 elite tight ends too much. I've never done it. If I'm taking Bowers, I'm waiting forever. If I'm taking even Loveland, I'm waiting forever. But should have done 2 tight ends looking back at it. Perhaps that was the move. Appreciate the feedback, though. Thank you for drafting with us. And before we move on, we're going to take a look at T-Fall SP Dogs in at pick 11. And then we will move on to our next draft. Let me know in the chat, do y'all want a puppy or a super flex? I'm going to be drafting several BBMs over the weekend. And today I'm going to preserve my bankroll just a little bit. So we're keeping it a little bit light. Puppy or super flex. I'm not doing you know what? Puppy or Dachshund. Dachshund is also in that discussion. But SP Dogs went with 3 quarterbacks with the Lamar Joe Burrow combo. Let's take a look. 3-5-7-3 should be interesting with Lamar, Burrow, and Geno Smith. Burrow is stacked up with Chase Brown and Mike Gesicki. Travis Etienne fell to pick 35. Love that value for you. Rico Dowdle, always a good click. One of my boys. JCM at 110. I'm not a fan. Kimani Vidal, also not the biggest fan, but do think he has a track to contribute only if Hampton goes down. I'm so committed to Hampton. I'm trying not to remind myself that he could get hurt and take Vidal. But Justin Jefferson, Ladd McConkey, Jordan Addison, Michael Pittman, Jaden Higgins, and Jalen Coker. Coker is the 6th. I like that a lot. And then Jeremy Bernard at 182. I'm a little surprised that Jeremy has not fallen since the draft. He's actually kind of risen a little bit more lately. And that is baffling to me. I know he was drafted high, but they brought in Michael Pittman, and then Rodgers hates rookies. I like Jeremy Bernard a lot, but I think in terms of landing spots for him to go round 2, the Steelers is the worst fucking outcome because of Rodgers' hatred to throw it to the rookie. Chigo Okonkwo in Washington, TJ Hawkinson in Minnesota, and then Mike Gesicki in Cincinnati. Gesicki is stacked. I think this Geno Smith click was not necessary. I think I would have liked Geno Smith to be a running back. I think that's the only way I like this team more. Otherwise, I think it's great. And maybe Geno does really help you advance, but it's unstacked and it's the Jets. So you took Lamar and Burrow really early. I think you could have just stopped there. Geno, I think, is a little unnecessary. But who am I to talk? I did take Rodgers at pick 200. But 200 is still much cheaper than 179. And I think Rodgers is much better than Geno. So that's if you're going to take Jeremy, why not go Rodgers instead of Geno? But what was the value? Yeah, right at ADP. I think a little unforced click on Geno Smith, if I had to be completely 100% honest. What's up, Garage? How we doing, Chris? I'm rooting for you in the So You Think You Can Tout contest. And check your inbox soon. I'm going to try and maybe have you back on the channel soon. I'd love to bring you back. But it looks like Peter wants a puppy. Keith wants a puppy. Frank wants Superflex. So does Game Tight. Game Tight says smash the like, though. So maybe Game Tight has an argument. But we have Frank as a member. Keith as a member. So the next vote, I think, will decide it. It's tied between Puppy and Superflex. The next vote will decide it. Puppy or Superflex. Huhaim says, it's weird you are taking the handcuff in Keaton instead of the third down back in Vidal. Well, here's the thing, Huhaims. I don't think Vidal is the third down back when Hampton is healthy. That's the thing. I think Keaton will still see the field when Hampton is healthy. Vidal, I'm not convinced will see the field. I'm sorry, Jeremy, we're not doing a BBM today, but I am going to do 5 this weekend on both Saturday and Sunday. I will get that free Best Ball Mania entry. The weekend is going to be full of BBMs, I assure you, but not today. Sorry about that. Looks like First Down Fantasy is our deciding vote, and he is a member as well, so that's decided. It is decided. We are hopping into the puppy for $5. I'm going to count it down. I'm going to make sure I have it on the phone. So I'm sure if you want to hop in, you would appreciate a countdown. And I assure you, I will give that to you. So get ready. We're almost there. And then we'll take one more hit from the pipe. And that'll be our last hit of the stream. We got one left in us. And then I got to be out here by like 5:15 at the latest. So we'll do team reviews. And I have the puppy on my phone. So the countdown begins now. I will be drafting in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. And we did not get a location error today. Sure, I'll allow notification. This one filled fast. This thing filled quickly. So you might have had to hit it before I counted down to 0, but I hope you did. I see Champ in here. It pulled the 101. Good for you, Champ. Danimal pulled the 102. Good for the both of you. Always nice to have a top 2 pick. And as always, I get pick 8. I don't know what it is, but I get pick 8 pretty much every fucking time. But you know what's awesome about pick 8? In round 7, you're on the clock at pick 80. And if you watched on our 420 live stream, how do you say 80 in French? 80, which translates to 420s. You have to do math to say the word 80. And that is the best omen of all. Because the 402 is not the same thing as pick 420. There is no pick 420 on the board unless you're French. It's pick number 80, and that lines up with slot 8. That has been my most drafted from position this year, and maybe it's a sign, or maybe it's a kiss from the devil. Maybe I am never destined to win anything because pick 8 is just not the spot to be in, but I like pick 8. Right? Hallie Lion, there's something weird going on. It's a little too often I get pick 8. In fact, I'm going to show you just how infrequently I get other picks in regards to pick 8. I'm going to have to pull something up separately. But maybe I do it after my pick. Okay. Keith says Vidal is the handcuff. I think if Hampton goes down, it's a time split, and Vidal will catch the passes. So that's where it makes him valuable. I think Keaton will get more touches. I think Keaton's probably going to average like 14, 15 touches per game, and then Vidal closer to 10. But they will be receptions. Now, I can go Amon-Ra again, but this is the reason I don't ever take Vidal, really, because I think the only way he pops is if Hampton gets hurt. and I'm still in my Hampton slappy days. I'm going with Hampton at the 108. I'm fine taking him here, and we're going to pair him with another round 2 pick. It'll be unique. It'll at least be unique. But I see Game Tight in here drafting at the 111. He gets Justin Jefferson. And given this thing instant filled, maybe most of y'all are in a second lobby. Because in all honesty, I don't recognize too many names outside of Champ, Danimal, and Game Tight. So if y'all are interested in a team review and I didn't mention you, let me know. I am not fully sure who else is watching. And so I'm happy to oblige, but at the moment, those are the only 3 teams I recognize. So we'll see what happens. But in the spirit of being unique, everyone else is pulling up Chase Brown. Let's do it. Let's go Hampton and Chase Brown to start. Not very common. Not a common combination. We will find out, but Keaton, third down back almost for sure. I mean, Vidal. If Hampton goes down, yes, I agree with this, Hames. Vidal is the third down back. But I want the goal line back. And I'm not fully convinced that will be Kimani Vidal. I think if Hampton is injured, the goal line back becomes Keaton Mitchell. But he can also just score from anywhere. And that's where I could see him having 3 games with 20 points. And that's why in best ball, I take Keaton a little bit more often. But I should probably take Vidal a little bit often, but I just don't think so. I think Hampton is very, very effective as a pass catcher. We will find out. We will. But I'm not convinced that this is the case, brother. I respect your opinion. If anything, you make me consider drafting Kimani Vidal a lot more often than I do. But I'm not convinced this is correct. Fair point. We will see. But I'm just of the mindset that you really want Hampton. So in the spirit of this discussion, I'm going to be fully upfront with y'all. I'm going to put my chips on the table, my money where my mouth is, my site credit where my mouth is, and take Hampton at the 108 and get unique with a Hampton Chase Brown start. But Breaking Best Ball says, agree with the Geno not being needed. Yeah, a little bit unnecessary. Jeremy supposedly has a crazy high football IQ for being so young. It may work out in Pittsburgh with Rodgers. I sure hope so. The thing about the Steelers is that historically they draft receiver very well, but in recent history, they've actually missed a couple times. Like Roman Wilson was also taken in the second round. Roman Wilson ain't worth shit. But historically, the Steelers know exactly what they're doing when they draft wide receiver talent. I mean, look at George Pickens. Look at Antonio Brown. Look at Emmanuel Sanders. Look at Juju Smith-Schuster. Look at Hines Ward. But I think, damn it, I kind of wanted Allen on this team, not going to lie. Today, I kind of wanted to go with Josh Allen. But there's a rumor that the Eagles are going to get the Niners. That's not a secondary I fear, especially with the loss of what's his face? Robert Saleh. The defensive personnel in San Francisco, I think, is going to take a big dip in production this year. So I'll go Devontae Smith. I do also really like Chris Olave, but the fact I had Jalen Hurts at pick 80 on the last team without Devontae Smith, maybe it can happen again. I doubt it, but let's take Devontae Smith here. I think in round 3, it's fair. It's either Devontae Smith or Chris Olave for me right there once Allen is off the board. but I don't think I'm going to regret the Devontae Smith selection. Who hangs says, I agree. You want Hampton. I mean, not sure if you're just saying you agree that I want Hampton or the collective you wants Hampton, but at least for today, I wanted Hampton for sure. Would have loved to get T. Higgins almost falling back to us, but I've taken enough Jets recently on the live stream. We're going to stick to our bread and butter. We've committed to the Chargers offense. Let's continue to do that. And let's go Ladidi McConkey as our wide receiver 2. Are we getting Chiefs Chargers week 17? Damn it. I wish I took Kenneth Walker if that's the case. Fuck. The week 17 bring back. Now I got it. Has the schedule been released? Tonight, I'm going to live react to the Chargers schedule release video. Tonight, we'll be back on the stream. After I'm back from playing golf, I'll live react to their schedule release video. Unless it drops in the next hour. That's the only other way. But when I get home tonight, I assure you, I'll give you my live reaction on the schedule. But double Charger so far. We got Chase Brown and Devontae Smith. Nothing to complain about through 4 rounds. Typically, it's hard to find complaints through the first 4 rounds, other than structurally. But if you go running back, wide receiver, you're typically going to be happy with your team. All right, coming back around, Quinshawn gets taken, so not going to get him for the second draft in a row. I was really hopeful I could get JMO there at 56. Damn, JMO Tamar 333 at 54. What a steal. And then I do not get Terry on the way back. So a little disappointing. Not going to lie, just a little disappointing. But Rome Odunze is still available. 56 is pretty solid. I'll go Rome Odunze. Right at ADP, however. Damn, JMO would have been nice. ADP 48, he goes pick 54 in this one. Good for team 6. That's pretty fire. Jamison Williams pick 54, wide receiver 3. Shit. Okay, let me get back to the chat. Would be funny to have Keaton versus Vidal wars all summer, only for Hampton to stay healthy and smash. That's what I'm hoping for. I am very, very committed to Omarion Hampton, as you can see with this roster. Definitely a player I've commit to. But Keaton Mitchell has played 13 games in the last 2 years due to injury. No thanks. I'll take Vidal later in the draft. That's a very fair point to make. The injury risk, definitely a concern. But players get hurt, and then once they don't, it's like, yeah, you probably should have taken him. Not worried about it. But I think ultimately, I'll go Cardinal Tate in round 6 for sure. Ultimately, I think this is what I think will happen, Hartman. I think this is what's going to happen. It's not that they will never contribute, but it's just not going to be enough because Hampton's going to dominate. I think so. Yeah. Not 100%, but I got a source with all the playoff weeks. Who's your source, Who Hames? If you want to keep that under wraps, I understand. But now I'm very curious. But both combos would have been unique. I believe I already have a Hampton and Kenneth Walker team, if I'm not mistaken. I can actually pull that up. And I mentioned this earlier, and I totally forgot to to do it. Maddock tweeted them. Good for Maddock. That's going to be a fun rivalry game. I would love to have Davis Maddock on the channel. I feel like we will have so many things to disagree about, whether it's player takes, but just straight up Chargers versus Chiefs. Neither of us like each other's team, and I think that'd be really fun. But I would like to speak it into existence. Whoa, what? Not here. Whoops. Appreciate you, Who Hames. A reminder, we mentioned it earlier, but maybe people have come in since then. Subscribe to Who Hames. Awesome channel. Subscribe to Hartman's channel, Hartman FF. Subscribe to, I'm trying to find it, the Fantasy Football Garage, friend of the channel as well. Bayou Bengal. And Best Ball on Call. All right. So we're not going to get lucky today. We do not get Jalen Hurts at pick 80, but it's a phantom click from the last team we have. Source, I made it up. Into the good old intuition. Sometimes you just know. But shit, I missed it. I meant to do this earlier. I'm just going to take him here. I'll go Herbert again. I think Herbert should be going right next to Drake May. He probably stays healthier than Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. And based off of last year's production, I'd rather have Herbert than Caleb Williams. So not convinced that we're taking him at the right price. I think Lamar is definitely QB2, but I could argue that Justin Herbert will be quarterback 3. So on a team with Hampton and Ladd, I'm not going to fuck around, not going to expect to just get lucky with him making it back. But we get Herbert at pick 80. And to move on with the day. My burner account. Yeah, it's Kevin Durant's burner account. That's the source. Anyways, after I take Herbert, we see Sutton, Prescott, Addison, and T-Law off the board. And then we get Jacoby Myers, Kyler Murray, and Kyle Monangai. What strain is that? Yada yada. Black Amber. Back on the clock. Gonna take my boy Rico. It is. Grab QJ. I could have, but I felt like I had a good enough receiver room already, and I also have a double stack with Hampton and Ladd. I'm willing to pass today. I think structurally I needed running back a little bit more than wide receiver. So as much as that was a solid direction to take, baloney, I didn't want it at pick 89 on this particular team. I think you can always take him and justify it, but I already have Ladd. I already have Hampton. It's not a bad click, but structurally I just wanted my third running back. And I do consider Rico one of the last that I really trust. I could have taken the fall on Harvey there. Maybe that was the move, but there's going to be a bunch of teams that have RJ Harvey at pick 80 and then Herbert at pick 89. So maybe there's fewer teams in theory that have Herbert and Dowdle, given they're both 8th rounders. Maybe. Probably not, but we'll see. Do I think Herbert's rushing goes up, down, or about the same as last year? I think it will go down a little bit. I think he ran a bit more out of necessity last year, as opposed to them all being like designed plays. And given the amount of hits that he took, it's going to be incorporated into his game. It's not like it's going to be drastically lower, but I don't think he will hit the same totals as last season. But I don't think they're going to be much lower. Herbert ran for just under 500 yards last year, did not play in week 18. And in terms of rushing yards per game, that was on the higher end of the spectrum among the quarterbacks. So not expecting 500 rushing yards from Herbert, but I do think 400 is still very respectable, and he might hit 420. I think 420 is not a bad bet, but for the sake of a stack, I'm going to go Michael Pittman instead of Ricky Pearsall. We got Rico Dowdle, and that was one thing that our last team was missing when we took Rodgers at pick 200. I'll probably take Rodgers on this team, and now we got a Rico and Michael Pittman correlation if we decide to go in that direction. I'm not going to lock myself into it. I'll try to get a good value here if one applies at quarterback. There's always back stacks available. Typically speaking, unless it's like Jordan Love, there's nobody left available with Jordan Love. But if I take Jordan Love, then the team at 7 is going to be pissed. The team at 7 will be fucking livid. They have Jaden Reed and Matthew Golden. I don't think I'm going to take him, though. I think the team with Christian Watson is going to snipe him. That's more likely what will happen. But they already have Josh Allen. They're chilling either way. And don't think it's the end of the world to have Allen, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, and no Jordan Love. I'd say almost assuredly lower, but when you measure that out over a full season, it's like 1 fantasy point per game or something. Yeah, it's not going to be enough to be a big factor. I think his passing stats are going to go up. He had 3,700 yards, 26 passing touchdowns. He'll throw more passing touchdowns, but I think it'll be somewhere in between the 498 it was last year and the 306 it was the year before. But he's consistently been running more and more every season. I think odds are, because of the offensive line problems last year, it peaked because of the scrambling that was required, and Herbert just needed to get out of the pocket. But in the Greg Roman system, they did not have the most effective. Damn, I kind of wanted Ricky Pearsall at that price. That would have been a nice discount on Ricky Pearsall. But J.K. Dobbins is still here. That's fine too. I need some points at running back. I'll go Dobbins in the 10th round. Feels legit, but Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver 6 at 113 would have been fun. Would have been very fun. And that team does take Jordan Love. Good for G-Man Kelly. Gets the double stack with Reed and Golden. And that's a very achievable stack to have. You can even have Kraft at like 79 typically if you really want to plan it out that way. But good for him. The Christian Watson drafter did end up passing for Ricky Pearsall. A really good value there, so don't blame him. But he only has Jackson Dart. He might regret it when it's all said and done. Might regret it a little bit if he gets boxed out at quarterback. But I only have one quarterback left so far, I should say. I'm not worried about it. But yeah, Coolers, I completely agree with your take here. And thank you so much for becoming a member. Not sure I noticed that when it happened, but the green username, really appreciate that. And hey, I've been saying it to a bunch of people. I'd love to have you on the channel. So I think I've mentioned this to you in the past. I've been meaning to reach out, and that reminds me. Maybe I can set something up with you soon. Check your X inbox in the coming. I mean, maybe I'll just remind myself later. Yeah, I'll reach out when I have time. Obviously, not in this moment, but yeah, look for that. That should be a fun stream if we can get Coolers on the channel. Coolers has been on Huhaim's channel and offered some dope insights. Respect Cooler's opinion. I get it. There's always the aspect of I would just love to maintain my privacy. That's always something to keep in mind. That's one thing that I fully respect. I get the layer of pressure that comes with mentioning it publicly, but never gonna fault someone that would just rather stick to their own guns. I might just take Brooks and just call it done. But you know what? I'm gonna go with Goddard. I'm gonna take tight end. I think it's the value in this round. I think round 11, 12 is where I like to be attacking tight end and feel like I still get a really good one. And I thought I'd press my luck with Gadsden again. He goes pick 130 in this lobby. I've gotten him at 152. I've gotten him at 150. Today he goes 130. But this is how I felt about the So You Think You Can Tout contest. There was part of me that was just happy to lay low and enjoy as a viewer. I understand and respect the boundaries of others. Always good to have your own boundaries. But part of me thought maybe I could go Gadsden at 137, pair him up with Herbert. But in all honesty, I think it's going to be good either way. Because I think I'm going back to quarterback here. Barring a snipe, Jay White goes Malik Willis. And this is why I took Carnell Tate where I did. 5 picks past ADP. Maybe he deserves to fall because the Titans have a very crowded offense, but the draft capital, the talent, the player profile, just the school he went to and graduated from. Did he graduate or did he leave as a junior? I'm forgetting. Egbuka graduated. Maybe Carnell Tate only played 3 years, but he went to Ohio State. That's a college I trust for that positional talent. So we go Cam Ward and Carnell Tate. That feels pretty solid. Don't have Wandale. I'm grateful that the Wandale drafter was behind me. Maybe they were planning to take him, but they do stack up Josh Downs with Daniel Jones. It's a nice consolation prize. The Tyler Warren drafter, not going to get him. Not sure if Danimal wanted him. He already has Brock Purdy and Jared Goff, but I only had Herbert so far. I definitely needed a quarterback 2 on this roster. And although I think Darnold is probably the best in this tier, his offense probably regresses without Clint Kubiak. Meanwhile, Cam Ward's offense is going to take a major leap with all the added weapons and Brian Dable as the offensive play caller. I do think that's a solid bet to make as well. I think in this round, if I can only go with one quarterback, it's still probably Sam Darnold most of the time, but for the sake of this roster, I do stack up Cam Ward with Carnell Tate, and he might be better. I definitely have more Cam Ward exposure than I do Sam Darnold. I think I'm probably going to get back in at tight end here. I do trust Hunter Henry quite a bit. I do think Hunter Henry's a very solid pick. And nothing else is really speaking to me, so I'll do that. We got a pretty solid running back room with Omarion Hampton, Chase Brown, Rico Dowdle, and J.K. Dobbins. So I don't feel super compelled to force a running back right here, but I do know that the tight end position is flying off the board with the best values in this range. Rounds 11, 12, and 13, I think, is where the money is going to be made at tight end. Interesting to see Game Type pull up Hawkinson at 134. Usually Hawkinson goes in the 150s, so might have been the star method on that one. But he gets his guy, and ultimately when you're on near the bookend, it's worth just getting who you want, not really giving a shit about ADP. So Hawkinson there, With Kyler, at least makes sense. He has the Jefferson, Addison, and a Hawkinson stack, so not worried about Jawan Jennings at all. Where did Jawan go? 146. He went Hawkinson over Jawan Jennings. Interesting. It was an accident. Gotcha. Gotcha. At least it's correlated, but that's where the star method is not always the best move. But Angus, listening at the driving range, excited to average a triple later. You can do better than that, brother. Playing golf with Angus in an hour and a half. So that's why this is the last draft of the afternoon. But I'm back on the clock right now. Ah, man, none of these guys really speak to me. Maybe we just get the rookies that are harder to get. I have a lot more Antonio Williams in pre-draft than Stribling, so I'll go Stribling today. Sorry to Danimal, who has Brock Purdy. Maybe he was planning out that stack, but I need a receiver. I need to get back in at receiver. I only had 5 up to this point, and nobody else was really speaking to me too much at other positions. So Stribling was my selection, and I've been noticing these prices on the rookies that went to good landing spots. The draft capital on Stribling in the real life NFL draft is enough to convince me that his price will never be less expensive unless there's really bad camp reports. But I think odds are he'll be moving up as the wide receiver 3 in San Francisco, especially when you factor in the injury risk of Ricky Pearsall and Mike Evans. I expect Evans to miss 3 games like he always does due to a hamstring injury. Consistently has hamstring problems. He had a shoulder. It was a broken collarbone last year as well. That also factored in. And then he came back and got hurt again. I think it was another leg injury. So the substation narrative isn't good in San Fran. There's probably going to be some consistent injury risk in San Francisco, as always. I also noticed that the Niners have multiple international games. They play in Melbourne, Australia, week 1. That's not good. And then they also go to Mexico City to play in the altitude mid-year. That's not like they got a terrible travel schedule. Holy shit. That's not good. Given it's a team with a shit ton of veterans that always struggles to stay healthy, I think that could be terrible. Wow, Jeremy goes 173. Very interesting. Mendoza's still on the board, but it doesn't really mesh with my roster. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go Emmett Johnson. And we'll get our Chiefs running back. Maybe Kenneth Walker gets hurt, and we get a Chargers-Chiefs matchup week 17, and Emmett Johnson is the running back you actually need. Maybe. Kenneth Walker has had some injury issues over the years, but I was a little hopeful that I could get Tank Bigsby there. Instead, Tank Bigsby went 168. I don't get him, but it's all right. Danimal says he loves golf. So do I, brother. Lance says, he's replying to someone else, so I'll skip over that. Angus about to do his best Bryson DeChambeau impression. Angus is a long hitter. Angus, there's one par 4 that we play at this course we're going to, and I have never driven the green. Angus has driven it like 3 times. He is a lefty, so he has this like big advantage, but the way that this course is like built, there's a slope that Angus can just hit and just ride like perfectly down the hill onto the green. He, I believe, got his first birdie on that hole. He drove a par 4. I've driven a par 4 at a different course, but not that one. And I'm not going to fuck around. Maybe this is not the right move, but I think I'm just going to take him here because this has been a weird lobby that is like kind of faded quarterback. There's a ton of teams that only have 2 quarterbacks. So today I'll go Rodgers, and I'm not too worried about not getting Pat Fryermuth. Might get him, might still not take him. I have Goddard and Hunter Henry. I think I might just chill with 2 tight ends on this one. Maybe I get Njoku or Fryermuth for some stacking partners. Gunnar Helm is off the board. He went at 180. But I have 2 Pittsburgh Steelers, Enrico Dowdle and Michael Pittman Jr. I have a very justified reason to take Aaron Rodgers. And I've seen him go in the 160s by people I respect. I've also just got him at pick 200. And maybe this lobby did not give a fuck, but I think he's more valuable than Geno Smith this year. I think he might be more valuable than Bryce Young this year. I think he has more job security than Malik Willis does. I think the Dolphins are going to lose a shit ton of games, not be in playoff contention. You might not have Malik Willis as the starter in week 17 or the playoffs. That I think is possible. Daniel Jones going to miss some time probably. I think he's pretty injury prone. Rodgers is old, but probably stays on the field. And I ultimately think Rodgers can put up similar stats to what CJ Stroud is going to offer. So I think Rodgers at 185 is a great price. I'm happy to take him here. And it is stacked up. It is justified. Wholeheartedly endorse Rodgers in round 16. Danimal says he will be relying on Goff. I see you just took Tua, though. So you got the value with Bijan. Pretty solid. Only risk with Tua is that he also does not play the full season. At this point, maybe he has another wrist injury like last year. You know, maybe he misses a couple games in the middle of the season. But I think Rodgers will be absolutely on the field down the stretch unless he suffers a major catastrophic injury, unless he tears his Achilles again or, you know, has an ACL or something. But looks like I'll get both options at tight end here. One of the two might get sniped, but I'll have my pick of the litter. The receiver room as Devontae, Ladd, Rome, Carnell Tate, Pittman, and Stribling. I think I have more Njoku ultimately than Pat Fryermuth. And I think they're both really underrated. So I'll just go with Fryermuth. For the sake of exposure, I have more invested in Njoku. So just balance out the buy-in sheet, and we'll take Fryermuth today. But I prefer the Rory, where I get a strong lead, then proceed to throw it all away. That is up until the last 2 years. That's Rory in a nutshell. At least at the Masters, but not the last 2 seasons. Gesicki off the board. Am I just taking 4 tight ends on this team? I don't think I can afford it. Don't think I can. I think I got to go receiver. But Njoku kind of calling my name just a little bit. But I'm starting to talk myself back into Elijah Surratt, and he goes to Game Tight, who does have Lamar Jackson. Solid click. I have Herbert, Cam Ward, and Rodgers. But if there's a Titan I can talk myself into still having value, it is Chimeri DK. I'm taking Chimeri in the final round instead of Calvin Ridley. In where did Ridley go? Pick 164, the 14th round. Yeah, I'll take a swing with Chimeri DK, who had a pretty consistent role in the offense last season. Maybe he's redundant. Maybe this is a wasted pick, but his role on special teams, I think, is going to absolutely keep him in the fold. And ultimately, I just don't believe that Ridley is going to stay healthy. I think Ridley's washed. I think if anything, Ridley might be on the trade block if he can do anything. And I think the wide receiver 3 you want in Tennessee is Chimeri DK, who had consistent production in the red zone last year. The only guy that really stood out had Cam Ward's trust down the stretch. So I'll mix him in. Not going to draft him at 8%. That's for sure. But if I finish with like a 3-4% investment on Chimeri DK, always stacked with Cam Ward, I think it's fine. I think it's justified. I also think my receiver room is good enough to not rely on him that much. and I think I'll be okay. But I'm glad I went with 4 straight wideouts on this team. I think it really was necessary for the overall build and structure. And then I'm happy I got the Pittman Rodgers combo with Rico as well. We got all. Oh no, I guess I don't have a running back for Cam Ward, but we got Hampton stacked up with Herbert. So the running back and receiver combo with Ladd, and then the running back receiver combo with Rodgers, with Rico and Pittman in Pittsburgh. The Pittman in Pittsburgh. But I'll give you a full reminder on the recap. We go with a 3-5-7-3. Justin Herbert, Cam Ward, Aaron Rodgers, all stacked up. Running back with Omarion Hampton in the first round, Chase Brown in round 2, a unique combination for sure. Rico Dowdle as our RB3. Dobbins as our RB4, I think is great. We got a really nice discount on him at 113, but that Broncos backfield a little crowded. And then Emmett Johnson, a handcuff in a valuable offense, might be in more of a committee than we expect, but also has a slightly injury-prone player above him, and maybe he has a more reliable path to get on the field than we give him credit for at this price. Devontae Smith, our wide receiver 1, unstacked, but Ladidi McConkey is stacked up. Roma Dunze at 56, I think a phenomenal value. We got Carnell Tate to fall into the mid-6th round, so these guys are very, very important. And then the 5th being Pittman, I feel confident enough that I can get away with only having 7, because I might not get anything out of Stribling or DK, but I think these 5 will be solid enough where I'm not that desperate about wide receiver 4 every week. I have some expectation that I get flex contributions out of tight end with Goddard and Henry and Freiermuth. I think maybe not all the time, but a few times I'll have 2 tight ends in the roster. And then I also think I can get 3 running backs on the roster, given Dobbins is my RB4. I think the team is pretty good. I was pretty patient at quarterback. To have 3 invested like this, 3 of my favorites in terms of value, I'm really happy about that. Danimal thinks the team is really nice. Fire emoji. So appreciate the optimism. And I like it too. I think we're in good shape. We also have a very unique approach with this Hampton pull at the 108. Not a common combo, that's for sure. But it's officially out now? Okay. In that case, we got to check it out. We got to check it out. And I think for the sake of the live stream, I wonder if it's already on ESPN, if I can just do it this way. Not sure they have updated it yet on ESPN, but oh, okay, I'll just find it. Hope this is oh, here we go. Found this. It's every NFL team's official schedule release video. So we will watch the Chargers live if that's the case. Where are the Chargers? That's the Colts, the Simpsons theme. That looks cool. Got to scroll down. The Bucks have it listed. They start off week 1 against the Bengals. I think they get the Rams. Damn, Bucks, Rams, week 17. That's going to be fire. That's going to be great. Where the fuck is the Chargers? Did I scroll past it? Whose is this? Commanders? Commanders at Jaguars. Week 17. That'll be fun. I must have scrolled past it. Holy shit. Niners are indeed hosting the Eagles week 17. I guess we'll just scroll through it for week 17. Okay. You know what? I think what I'll do is I'll have a more cohesive way of presenting this all to you later tonight after I play golf. But I think I'll just do the team reviews. And here it is. Okay. Here it is. Oh boy. I hope this live stream doesn't get taken down. But I think this is fair use. It's a live reaction.
Week 1 versus the
that's a
Cardinals.
Win. That's a dub. That's an easy dub.
Grapple Jack. Clipped wings.
Easy dub versus the Cardinals.
Week 2 versus
easy
the
dub
Raiders.
At home versus the Raiders. 2-0. Gotta be 2-0. Kirk Cuzzo sent you a friend request. Going down, son. Going down.
Folks ain't gonna keep being patient with you. That playful person that the Buffalo City by storm in his first interview, and he sat down and was like, "Yeah, I love cookies," and he had the whole that was all cool. But we give that grace to young players. Big dog, you supposed to be our number one. Come on, and you're playing like a bum.
I wish I had more experience with Halo so I could get some of these references. Week 4 at the Seahawks. That'll be a tough game.
Dangerous.
Shout out Jonathan from the subscriber league.
Legion of Boom. Emerald City Route Artist. Week 5 versus the Broncos.
We're still live, so it seems like
what did this team show against a really
YouTube's letting us watch this. We get the Broncos week 5.
Overkill.
Justin Herbert has never lost a game to Bo Nix.
Week 6.
Let's give him a 3-2 record so far. But week 6 at the Chiefs. Chiefs got swept last year. They're getting swept again. Give me the Chargers. 4-2. I'll give them a loss at Buffalo and Seattle. Let's be reasonable. Give them a loss in both those games, but not convinced that'll happen. At the Rams week 8, off the bye, that's a win.
Hey, bro, don't live stream.
Not an easy win, but I'll give them the win.
What do you mean you're not? I'm looking at it.
Don't have the home field advantage, but not that big of a deal.
That's what y'all want. That's what y'all want.
Week 9.
Texans game. That's a win. They're going to avenge the 2 recent Texans losses.
Learn from those mistakes, and everything that you got, bro, is in you already, bro. You're going to be a hell of a player in this league. All right, boy. For sure.
Week 10.
At the Ravens, though, Monday Night Football. Shit. Jesse Minter not going to know what hit him. Lamar's going down. That's a win. So far, that's only 2 L's.
Week
versus the Jets.
That's
a win. Automatic dub.
Interception.
That one, my goodness, nearly picked. It is almost picked.
Perhaps the Rams game could be a L. But off the bye, I think they can win. Versus the Patriots. I mean, got to avenge the loss. Am I right? East Coast team traveling west. Yeah, nothing to see here. Don't look at the playoff loss. But fuck it. They're gonna avenge that. Give them a win. At the Buccaneers, though, I'll give them an L. I'll give Baker the win. Baker beat him pretty bad a couple years ago. That game wasn't that close. So traveling to Florida, they usually don't do pretty well on the East Coast. At the Bucks, that's an L.
Week 14.
At the Raiders,
The Raiders.
maybe Mendoza can get it together, but I'm not gonna bet on that. Mendoza's losing the second one. All right, so far that's like 3.5 L's I've given them.
Week
Versus the Niners, this will be tricky.
versus the
Thursday night
49ers.
football at home, that's an advantage. The Niners got a lot of travel this year.
One practice.
The Mike McDaniel reunion, don't have to worry about Robert Saleh. I'll give it to the Chargers.
Week 16.
At the Dolphins, automatic win.
The Dolphins.
Automatic win. For sure.
The casualty.
Hawk Tua.
Self-cost.
Cut the cheetah.
The liquid.
Trade the penguin.
Set.
Yeah, what is there to worry about? Week 17 versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs play exceptionally well in LA. That's going to be an L. So that's 4.5 L's. The Rams one is a toss-up. Don't think they'll sweep the Chiefs probably. Last year, they swept them in Brazil. And then at the Broncos, Week 18.
Finish the fight.
That's a tougher defense. So happy to avoid that in fantasy. But let's give them another win. For the division, (13-4) record for the Chargers is my prediction. They beat the Cardinals. They beat the Raiders. They lose at the Bills. They lose at the Seahawks. They beat the Broncos. They beat the Chiefs. They lose to the Texans after beating the Rams. They beat the Ravens. They beat the Jets. They beat the Patriots. They lose to the Bucks. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Niners.
See you at SoFi.
They go 13-4. That's my prediction. All right. Back to our lobby. Back to the lobby. Good to know. I think it's worth considering at times, but it's really not the end of the world. Anyways, let's go back to the lobby. And it's 5 o'clock. I got a few minutes left. We'll recap some of y'all's teams. We'll go through Champ's team, Danimal's team, and Game Type's team. And then if anybody else is interested, let me know in the comment section. But those are the team reviews we'll be doing. Best Ball Cabal says, I really like Woody Marks. Now there's a guy who would never poop his pants. He'll at least pop some Woodies. He'll pitch a tent. Now you just need an eagle. Hit him good. Enjoy your golf game. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. It's been over a month since I played golf, so I'm excited to get back to it. Chargers video in their X account. Bills one is Cam Newton talking about Keon Coleman. Gotcha. Roni Baloney says 12-5. They lose to the Patriots. I think they're going to avenge the Patriots. They lost so poorly, and their offense will be much, much better this time. I'm going to give them a dub against the Patriots. So 13-4, you say 12-5. They're a playoff team, that's for sure. Alfred says, I'm not smart enough for all this information. I'm a half bottle of scotch and 5 cigars in. No worries, bro. We got 3 team reviews left. I'll remind you of my team, and then I'm going to head out and hit the golf course very shortly. But Champ at the 101. Take a look at his roster. He has Drake May, Baker Mayfield, and Geno Smith. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jeremiah Love, Swift, Bigsby, and Sean Tucker. Very legit RB room. Very solid. At wide receiver, he's got A.J. Brown stacked up, Waddle in Denver, Parker Washington, Chris Godwin, Michael Wilson, Omar Cooper Jr. is stacked up. Also has Travis Hunter. He did not get the Trevor Lawrence combo, but not that important. He does have Godwin, though, stacked up with Baker. That's dope. At pick 96, that's phenomenal. And then tight end a little thin with Ferguson and Kate Otten. He also has Pat Bryant. I don't know if you needed Pat Bryant. That's maybe the only pick I would have changed. I think this tight end room might need a third. Otten's a good floor play, but doesn't score many touchdowns. Ferguson Also, a little bit crowded offense, not the most touchdown reliable. So the tight end room is a little thin, but if there's one position you can get away with being that thin, it's definitely that one. I think I like the receiver room enough to where one of these three maybe doesn't need to be there, and it's probably Pat Bryant, who's probably not the most critical click, but I respect it. 8 receivers, never a bad strategy. The third tight end maybe is overkill, but pretty good team. If my only problem is your final click, it's a very good team. We had Danimal in here at pick 2. He has Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, and Tua. Tua is stacked up with Bijan Robinson, but he only has 4 running backs. He has Bijan, Josh Jacobs, Montgomery, and Kamara. Kamara as the 4th is tough, brother. I know you got 3 strong ones, but I think I want a 5th here. Or just give me somebody much better than Kamara. Like at least Kenny Gainwell is the 4th. If you're going to stop, I think is my mantra. But should have good depth elsewhere. You have Pickens, DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs is the 3rd. I would have thought that the depth would be better with only 4 running backs. Diggs at 122. That is bold. That is maybe where he's going to go, but that is early. We'll say that. Jalen McMillan on this team. So is Juwan Jennings, Debo, and Isaac Tesla. So betting on the veteran free agents. I don't mind that at all. It's definitely a stance I've taken. But Diggs is wide receiver 3. That's a little tough. That's kind of hard to come back from. 4 tight ends, I think, is too much, bud. I think it's too much. You have Kittle, so I guess so, but you invested a lot at tight end. Warren, Kraft, Kittle, and Njoku. I think you need that 5th running back. One of these tight ends does not need to be there. That's my take on it. Good luck, Danimal. I hope you can thread the needle, but way too much invested in Kamara, in my opinion. It's the only problem. Thank you, Hartman. Good luck to you as well. Check out Sag Auto Golf. Great YouTube golf teacher. Sure, I'll check him out. I try not to mess with my swing too much, but I feel like my chipping, I think, could get better. That's probably where I could save the most strokes in my chipping game, but felt marginal between wide receiver and tight end for last pick. I think you needed running back though, but final round is tough. I get it. That Njoku fall, solid, but a little unnecessary given the Warren Kraft Kittle. Just a little expensive, but why take a golf lesson when you can buy a whole new set of Yeah, just spend as much money as possible. Is typically what some people choose to do. All right, last team to review is Game Tight, and then I'm going to bounce. We got Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray on this team at 2.772, so good depth at running back is expected. Henry, Beischel, Tootin, Jordan Mason the 3rd, and Brooks is the 4th. Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Dylan Sampson, good handcuffs to have. Love the Pacheco-Robinson combo. I'm not sure if you needed Sampson on this team, honestly, but Jordan Mason as the 3rd is a little tough to trust. You had to pull him up. You did get gifted Brooks a little past ADP, so that's pretty solid. But I think the running back room is good enough where Sampson might be a little unnecessary, but I get just going with 7 and just not worrying about it because Mason is not the most reliable. RB3, that's for sure. You did pass on Dobbins, though. I remember I got Dobbins well after you took Mason there, 6 picks later. So interesting decision. Jefferson, Olave, and Tet. Addison, Judy, Mooney, and Surratt. Surratt is stacked up, but these top 4 are very nice, especially the top 3. Don't love the Judy click. Mooney feels potentially worthless, but if Neighbors is indeed not fully healthy, then Mooney might be a great click. And then Andrews and TJ Hawkinson, both stacked up. You did mention that Hawkinson click. Might have been a mistake. It's fine. It was a little early. Let's see. Had you just taken, let's say, Tyrone Tracy, maybe you wouldn't have felt as compelled to go with 7 running backs, but your room is pretty good. I think other than the tight end position, that's the only one that feels a little tough. But overall, pretty good team. Receiver depth, I hope, does pay off for you. Good luck, my friend. But I think that's going to call it for today's live stream. I think we're done. There's a great chipping channel by Phil Mickelson. That's definitely one of the GOATs to rely on. But I think that's it. Don't want to miss my tea time. Got to get going in the next 10 minutes. So I will say goodbye. Thank you all for drafting with us. And we did watch the Chargers schedule release. I didn't have much to say in regards to the Halo theme. Just not something I can really pull from in the memory bank. So it's fun. It looks pretty cool, but didn't land as much as some of the other ones the last 3 years. But all right. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be drafting some BBMs over the weekend, and look out for that. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Nice and blunt.